Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to another episode of the Melanated Files Podcast, the podcast where we engage in solution-driven discussions on the Black experience across the globe and more. I am your host, Ranzo.
And I'm your co-host, Janique.
So we're gonna get into a few things today, but before that, we got an announcement to make for you guys who are watching and listening in podcast land as well. We're changing things up, as we said, so we are shaking things up a bit. We want to make sure that we get the announcement in the first few minutes of the podcast so you guys know what we're talking about. So this is a solution-driven podcast. So we're all about solutions, and we're not just saying that, but we also understand that some of you guys out there may potentially have solutions that can aid the community as a whole. So what we're going to do is we're going to incorporate you guys. Yes, we want to hear from you. So we're changing the format. So this podcast will be streamed live on YouTube. Yeah. Right? So those of you guys who are out there who want to chime in, who want to offer your suggestions, your opinions, things like that, we're going to invite you guys in to call in to the podcast and we can have a discussion. So whatever topic it is, if there's something that you think can be implemented in your country or in media or whatever it is that you think will bring about a solution, we want to hear from you. So we're changing this podcast up a little bit because the goal is solutions. And we know that we don't have all the answers. The answer could be out there. You, yes, I'm talking to you. That person, yes, you right there in the red shirt that's watching right now. This is exactly what we're talking about. Like, we want your suggestion. Okay, the thing that you are about, the thing that you believe that, you know what, you're there in your house and you're saying, man, if we could only do this, right? We feel like this would be the solution. I feel like this would be the solution. So that's what we're going to be doing. So this Saturday, well, actually not this Saturday, but next week, so June the 29th at 10 a.m. JST, Japan Standard Time, we will be streaming live, myself and my wife, and you guys are going to be able to call in and we're going to have a discussion. So that's going to be the format of a podcast going forward. And we also want to just do, for the first one, the first live stream that we're going to do, the first live podcast that we're going to be doing, we want to ask you guys to send us emails. If you want to be one of the first persons that actually come on the podcast live, that call in live and engage in a discussion with us, we want you to send us an email to blackexperiencejp@gmail.com. That's BlackExperiencejp@gmail.com. That's the email address. So if you're a regular listener to the podcast or a subscriber to our YouTube channel and you're watching this right now, we want you to send us a message pretty much expressing your interest in being a part of the live show next week, Saturday at 10 a.m. JST, our time in Japan. So it's going to be Saturday morning for us, and the time will be relative to where you are in the world based on your time zone. But that's when we're going to be doing it. So if you're interested in being one of the first persons to call in live, send us an email. And this podcast exists to discuss solutions that people can implement in their countries. Right? You can implement it where you are. Maybe you hear something on this podcast that you feel like you can adapt to your situation, your country, your community, and make a change or start moving in that direction. So that's what it's about. It's not about us. It's about solutions. And if we can create a platform where we can actually get people to actually come on and share their solutions that will actually help the community to rise, that's what we're about. And that's why we're changing up the format of this podcast, because we want it to be as effective as possible. That is the goal. Efficacy, that's the goal. We're not about just coming on and just like rambling and just saying random stuff. We really want to find a solution. And as I've said before, solutions driven, right? So that's next week, Saturday. That's going to be the format going forward. And the live stream time will be Saturday mornings, 10 a.m. JST. And if something happens and we can't do it live because it's live, right? So, life happens and stuff like that, we will have another day, just in case. So if we can't meet the regular time, in the rare instances where we can't, we will have an alternate day where we will stream live. And we know that some of you guys won't be able to make it on the alternate day or even on Saturdays. We understand that because, the scheduling is different for everyone. But that is the goal. And so we'll hear from some of you guys, because we realize that some of you guys have some really good suggestions, and you leave them in the comments down below. We understand that we have some really intelligent people that actually watch, our channel and listen to the podcast as well. And we want to hear what you have to say. We want you to share it with the world. So that's what we're about. So that's the announcement. The very first live broadcast on this channel, podcast format, will be next week Saturday, again at 10 a.m. And going forward, that will be the format because, as we said, this podcast is about solution-driven discussions on the Black experience across the globe, right? So whether you're in Africa, whether you're in Europe, the Caribbean, the Americas, wherever you are, we want to hear from you. And we're going to find some solutions to the problems that we face, these pervasive problems that have been plaguing us for a very long time. We want to find the solutions. And we know that the solution is somewhere out there.
Yeah.
And if you hear something on this podcast that you can implement, even better, because that's what we're about. So, so moving from, of course, discussion to execution. Execution is of paramount importance. Without execution, nothing will be achieved. So if you guys can suggest something and we can implement it, amazing. If we can suggest something and you can implement it, amazing. If you can suggest something, or we can have a dialogue and someone out there hears it and they can implement it where they are and bring about a solution, amazing.
Yes.
So, right? So that's what we're going to be doing. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, no, I'm excited to hear what other people have to say. And I think it's just a good opportunity to expand on what we've started here with this podcast. And I'm just looking forward to hearing what people have to share, ideas and thoughts. So I'm just looking forward to the new style of this podcast.
Yes. So that's what we're going to be doing. It's going to be interesting and exciting. And the last thing that I'm going to just repeat again in relation to that is that if you want to be one of the first persons to call in live, right, on this podcast, send us an email again to blackexperiencejp@gmail.com. Send it by Thursday, right? Thursday, the 27th of June. JST, so our time, right? You just got to check and see what time that is, what day that is for you, where you reside. But send us an email to express your interest and why you think you should be one of the first persons that we have call in, and we can have a discussion on the podcast live for the world to see. So that's the format going forward. We will still have the audio version, of course, but the live stream will be there. Of course, it's live. It will be on the YouTube channel, and then the audio version will drop then the following day, right? So that's what we're going to be doing. And, having said that, we wanted to touch on a few more things on this episode. It might not be as long as, the other episodes, but this is more of a, an announcement episode where we're going to discuss a few more things before we conclude episode number 3, right? So I guess at the same time, there's something I want to touch on, and feel free to chime in.
Yeah,
it's about just, I guess when I'm doing this podcast, the reason we started was because we wanted a way to express some of our thoughts and find solutions to some of the problems that we're facing, right? And I feel there was this thing in my mind where, I told you earlier today, where I'm like, man, are we really making a change? Are we really doing something that, that is beneficial to the people? So that's something that's in my mind, because I'm like, I want to make sure that, the time that we're investing is in something that will benefit other people.
Right.
Something that's beneficial, right? You're giving your time right now to watch this or to listen to this. We want to make sure that what we're doing is beneficial.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, I call to mind, people, great men of old, all right, who have done different things, whether it's through, civil rights movement, different stuff, like people who use their influence, to advance the cause of the community and different things like that. And sometimes I feel like we have been engaged in this struggle for a very long time.
Yeah.
And sometimes I question, like how, why are we still facing some of these challenges, right? We've come such a long way. And for instance, when it comes down to police brutality in some countries, people are saying, why does this thing keep happening? All right. people get upset. Then it happens again. They complain, they protest, and it's cyclical.
Yeah.
And you're saying to yourself, and people are like, something needs to change. Right? We have been protesting for a very long time about different things.
Right.
We have been, suffering from different things, the struggle and all the things that we've been going through. And we really believe that we need to actively pursue solutions. Like really seriously. Like not just being insane in doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, but actually doing stuff that can actually bring about results.
Right.
So we think it's definitely so yeah, as I was saying, so pretty much what I was saying was that I was wondering, like, is this podcast just another thing, to do that won't bring about any change or won't inspire anyone to really do anything, right? Because sometimes it seems like people are busy doing things that are not really bringing about results. And I'm not about that, because I understand that the currency of time is very, very limited. And we have to make sure that what we're doing, is something that's effective. So, I was battling with that a little bit to try to figure out if this would be something that's valuable to the community, because that's what we want. We really want to do something that can really bring about solutions, and that's one of the reasons why we're doing the live format as well, to invite you guys in, to get people on the show or the podcast who will be able to engage in discussion with us and disseminate information and educate those of you guys who are watching and listening as well, to really find solutions, because that's what we're about. Believe me when we say that. So we're going to tackle this with all our might. Believe that. So, yeah. So.
Well, I mean, I just think that we shouldn't really worry too much about... I know you're saying you're concerned about whether or not we're making an impact, but I feel like once we didn't have to do this, and we're putting we're opening up a conversation. We're opening up... We're trying to spark conversation, I guess we should say, about this. And so I feel like if everyone like us, or like everyone does their part, and I've said this before in one of the previous podcasts, that like if everyone does something collectively as a unit, we'll all bring about change together. But everybody has their own role, or even if you just do a little bit. If everybody in the Black community is doing something to bring progression, then there will be progression.
And I guess another way I could look at what you just said was to plant a seed. It's like the act of planting a seed. You can do that. You plant it, right? And then that's your responsibility. So you're planting the seeds. And you can help, of course, to nurture it as much as you can. And then, sometimes you don't see the tree grow yourself.
That's
but maybe
right.
your posterity sees it.
Yeah.
You understand? So there's that concept as well. It's kind of like, certain things I used to do in the past, like different, types of content and stuff. And one of the reasons why I stopped doing them, though some of them might be fun a little bit, but they were fun. But I was trying to find out, like, I was thinking to myself, like, is this valuable to anyone really? Like,
right.
Am I really contributing something to someone's life? You understand? Because I understand how the transience of life, pretty much, and how valuable life is and how short it is, right? And how, so all these things I was saying, I'm spending my time, my currency, right? And other people are investing their time and their currency as well to engage, to watch, right? And so I was saying, like, am I giving people something really
valuable?
Yeah, that can really impact their lives. Like, I know some people say entertainment is good, and so we need that, of course. We need a balance, of course. But I just felt that way, so I kind of had a departure, or departed from some of the content I was doing back in the day,
right? Because
I really wanted to do something, even if it's just kind of like, I have this whole idealistic type of approach where I'm like, okay, well, I'm doing something good, and it's gonna help people if I'm thinking about that. Whether or not it really does that, as long as I feel like I'm giving something that I believe to be valuable.
Right.
at least I can feel, at peace in myself. Because there's this thing, I'm drawn to this type of thing to really try to contribute. It's one of those things where it's like a burden that I guess you were given and you're like, why me? But you can't shake it, and that's what I feel, and that's why sometimes I guess some people might not be able to understand my obsession with like, why do you like they're like, well, it's whatever, it doesn't matter what you do. But I'm like, I don't know, I feel like I need to do this.
Yeah. Well, I think everybody has their calling, and I think everyone, I can't speak for everybody, but I feel like many people have that thing inside of them that's always calling them and saying, okay, like, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Like that small voice inside your head that is pulling you towards a certain thing, whether it be, and I believe it's connected to your destiny and your purpose,
I don't know about the small voice though, but I know about like a a thing. Like it's not like audible or inaudible.
Yeah, well,
for me it's like this thing that has this magnetic pull. So it's like you're being drawn to it. Like you're not hearing anything in your head or whether it's audible or it's like do this.
No.
I don't feel that. Like for me, well, at least I'm just explaining the way I feel. Mine is more of like a draw, to do something. Like I find myself, I'm like, okay, I wanna, kind of like help, and that's why I even like what we do with even the Black Experience Japan, because it's a platform that you guys know about that, and we put people up there, like normal people, people are doing different things, and it's like a platform as well where their voices are amplified, and it's in a sense it's like it's kind of like helping people as well.
Yeah, no, I was just saying it's not necessarily, but for me, it's like I keep getting the same ideas, or of things to do keep coming up. For example, like this desire to do this thing. Like, for example, maybe for you it was the podcast, but like for me, it's like I keep getting like hearing, okay, why don't you try doing this? Why don't you try? It's not necessarily a voice, but it's like thoughts in my mind keep leading me back to this particular thing that I'm passionate about. I'm into education and all that kind of stuff, and the arts, and so for me it's like I keep getting the same kind of idea and I feel like until I actually fulfill it and actually do it, I'm going to.
Can y'all tell her that she needs to act?
Until
the most important thing is action.
Yeah, so until I really feel like until
I want you guys.
Oh my gosh!
I'm cutting in. I want you guys to write in the comment section down below and tell Janique to get on it. Okay.
Right.
Pressure. Tell her to get on it. So that's why I was cutting you, because I'm like, yes, you're talking about this, which is a reality, but you should get on it. So I want the pressure to come.
No, you can continue. I've made some moves on certain things, but in either way, like I said, it's like until it's in like action or it's done, I'm always gonna be hearing that. Oh, why don't you do this?
100%.
Why don't you do this?
100%.
Like that thing is just calling. It's like calling you. You.
No, I understand 100%. I believe that. And for me, it's usually not like it's not specific. It's just something that you're drawn to, right? Like, different things, that I've done in the past. And it's like you're drawn to this thing, and it gives you like this feeling of like fulfillment, like you're kind of like doing what you ought to be doing, sort of kind of thing. Which I think is something that, and then other people have different viewpoints when it comes onto that, because some people hold this thing or have this view where they're like, well, don't do what you love. Like, you just gotta like be realistic, and you gotta do this because this is the way the world is, and stuff like that. But I have a different take on that, right? So 100%, I have a different take on that. Life is way too short to be a conformist, I believe. To say, well, this is the way life should be lived. I was watching a movie like a while back, actually, and I wrote it down because there was a quote, and it said that society is something to be invented, not endured. I kind of subscribe to this idea, and I find that we've been enduring so much for so long. Like, we're just conforming to what's going on, right? We're enduring certain things that are not to our benefit, And these things were set in place or put in place by other people as well. So that's my approach when it comes onto this. I know that maybe you guys have heard us talking about purpose a lot, but I feel like it's something that's really important. And maybe it even ties into solutions, right? It's like if people were maybe following their hearts and operating, or, fulfilling their purpose pretty much.
Yeah.
Then we maybe would be in a different place.
Yeah.
You understand? It's like what we said when people keep things to themselves, like your talents and your gifts and stuff that you feel like you're drawn to. If you prevent yourself from doing these things, you're standing in the way of not only yourself, but you're robbing the world as well of the contribution that you have to give it. So maybe, of course, this is just me saying this. It might not be the reality, but I just believe that if everyone followed what they feel inside, this thing, and I'm pretty sure you have it too, right? And it might be faint right now because you allow fear, right, to cripple you. The fear of all these other things to dampen that thing inside you. You're like, man, you know what? I gotta do this job. I don't like it, but I gotta do it because I gotta eat. I gotta pay the rent. I gotta take care of my family. I gotta do this. I gotta do that. I gotta go here or there, just because you're like, man, you just want to survive. You just want to take yourself from today to tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, you don't like, that's it. You just care about surviving as long as possible under whatever conditions. You're like, well, as long as I can pay this, pay that. But I feel like if everyone followed that thing that they had, the internal compass, they would maybe find, that thing, and then they would be able to impact other people. Whatever it is that you believe that you're drawn to, whether it's dance or music, or speaking to people, or writing, designing, creating different things, whatever it is, being a doctor, even our lawyer. We know these things are like traditional, and everyone talk about these things. But whatever it is, whether other people understand it or not, if you feel like this desire, and no matter how you run away from it, it still calls you, like what Janique is saying. She's like, she this thing keeps coming back to her again and again, and she feel like it will insist until she do what she ought to do, right? So these things are incessant, and it doesn't matter what you try, it's still there. And the only way is for you to do that. So again, in the comment section, tell her that she needs to start moving. She needs, that's what I'm trying to pull her out, get her more involved and stuff, so that she can, get, into the swing of things and hopefully be inspired enough to start and do the things that she wants to do.
Okay, so one of the ways that I kind of see it, just to kind of simplify it, I guess, is when you look at the body, for example, or the human body, okay? Every part has a function, right? So a nose's purpose is to smell, to cause your body to smell. Taste, the tongue is for tasting, eyes are for looking. You can bring it down to the very cells, blood cells, whatever. That everything has a purpose, but all together collectively is one body. And I kind of view society as the same kind of way, that everyone as a society collectively all come into this world, but they all have a different function or placement. And I think through time, and as men and women have become leaders of society to try and control people have lost their identity or their true function, because they've been basically forced into something that they're not, into a template that's not innate for them.
Like us according to a
right. Like animals, when they're born, a lot of them, like for example turtles. How do the turtles, as soon as they're born, know to swim into the ocean? It's innate. You know what I mean? Like, so I feel like many of us people human beings, we all have this thing that's in us, that this inner witness that tells us what our function is in the world around us, and there are certain things that just come naturally to some people. But when you're growing up in a particular society and under a certain system, it's like you're being molded into something that you're not. And then I find that as you get older, it's like this struggle of finding yourself and trying to, or some people just, stay in that, what they've been formed into or whatever, confined by, and they struggle through life in it, but they don't try to break out of it. But then there are many of us who realize, oh my gosh, there is something else that I want to do, and this is not necessarily what has been placed on me, but I want to be different and I want to do this. Do you understand? I don't know if it's very clear, but that's all I'm really trying to say is that yeah.
No, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and it's so that makes a lot of sense, because from birth, pretty much, it's like there are these boxes that parents sometimes, parents, teachers, society tries to fit this person in, because it's just in their minds, it's like, this is society, this is the way things work, and you're just like, okay, this is the way we do it. And then sometimes maybe even the child find themselves in a place where they're trying to fit in, because they look around and it's the way the world is, so they're like, okay, where do I fit in? And if they're and if this internal compass that they have is pointing them in a different direction, and they don't see any physical manifestation or a representative or an example outside of themselves in the world, they might feel out of place and say, well, I don't know if I should be doing this, I don't know where to fit in, I feel out of place, maybe I should do this. But usually I feel like it's more the pressure from outside, from parents and teachers and society, that forces them to try to conform, right? So whether it is that you want to do something, and the thing that you want to do is not financially viable or like that, or that, then people won't usually encourage you to do it.
Yeah.
Because usually the motivation is money or popularity or fame or whatever. So it's never just to be happy and experience joy and just to really just live in your thing. And you can just do it without money, do it for free, whatever, you don't care, because you love it so much.
Yeah.
Right. So the world, that's another thing as well. When we think about just the world itself and solutions and the problems that we have, just like you said, if the nose refuse to smell, then the body has lost just the fragrances of the world, the aromas, right? If the tongue refuses to taste, you understand what I'm trying to say? So all these things, the ears, if you have this thing within you and you feel it, if you don't contribute it to society or the world, then the world suffers. The only difference is you don't know exactly what your contribution will actually do, so you don't really feel like you're robbing anything, right? But if you had some insight or foresight to see what the result of you acting would actually bring about, then maybe we would put a pep in our step and try to do it more, or just jump into this thing without allowing ourselves to be paralyzed by fear. Because if you think about from the Wright brothers, you understand, and they created the airplane, right? The first, literally these guys were the ones that started this thing, and the first person that created a car. Can you imagine if they never followed the desire that they had? So now on this side of history, we can see the benefits. Maybe they had some foresight, I'm not sure, or maybe they never did. Who knows? But can you imagine if they never did that? Right. Where would we be? Maybe someone else would have come up with it. We don't know. But let's just say that was their task and they never did it. The world would have suffered. And it's the same thing. So while we're trying to find these solutions for the Black experience across the globe and just the world, really trying to find solutions, we believe that collectively, it's a concerted effort, I believe. Collectively, if all of us, I know this is contrary to popular opinion, but I find that we're in an age now where people are moving more towards these type of things. I think we're moving away from even just the way the education system is flawed, right? You go in,
extremely.
You rake up this student loan, right? All these student loans, right? You got this debt on your back, and your degree to a certain extent is worthless, right? You can't get something in your field. you understand, you're struggling, and y'all know, some of you guys understand. But the world is changing. Right now, we see more people who are following their desires in terms of their passion, their heart, into the place that they want to be at, into the things that they want to do. And you can find that these people are flourishing in what they're doing. Like, they're more radiant, right?
I think that's just this generation.
They're more passionate. And hopefully it's the beginning, because, as we said, we identify the problem, realize that something's not working, and then we work assiduously and feverishly to arrive at a solution, to find something that works. Okay, this is not working clearly. Okay, let's find something that's actually working. Let's do it. Guys, like, I know we kind of went off a little bit.
No, but I think it's good.
But we're just flowing a little bit. So, forgive us if it seems like we're off topic or whatever. But this podcast is about solutions and just discussing different things. And from next week, you'll be able to chime in, right? You'll be able to contribute as well. Tell us what you're thinking. So, having touched on that, we just want to implore some of you guys who are watching right now. Some of you guys want to visit a different country, right? I think I read a comment today where someone was saying they wanted to do something, but fear held them.
Right.
Right? Like, they were paralyzed by fear. And we just want to say, look, step out. The thing that you want to do, the thing that you feel. Sometimes it's hard, it's challenging. We understand, yes, it is. But don't allow fear to cripple you or paralyze you. Whether it is that you want to travel the world, you want to experience a different culture, right? You want to start a business, you want to start whatever it is that you want to start, you want to move somewhere different, you want to try something new, whatever it is, if there's this thing within you, right? Like I'm trying to encourage Janique to do as well, the thing that you feel that's incessant, you can't get over it or away from it. It doesn't matter if you can't make money doing it or not. Okay, like, don't allow money to be the driving force behind what you're doing, right? So so don't when you're thinking about it, don't let that be a part of the consideration. I know this sounds like it makes no sense, but this is only for those people who will get it and act upon it. That thing that's driving you, that's pulling you, and if you run to the left, you run to the right, is still there. Pursue it. See where that takes you. Does it bring you joy? Go after it. Especially if you're a part of the Black community. You understand? By keeping that thing to yourself and not contributing it to the community, the society, you're robbing the community. You're robbing you're robbing the society of something. Because that thing that you have, maybe I don't have it. Maybe Janique doesn't have it. Maybe no one else has it. But you are the person that has that thing, and it was you that was ordained to introduce this to the world. Do it. Yes, I see it. That person with a pink shirt. Yes, I'm talking to you right now. It's not pink, it's white. Yes, you in the white. and the black as well, and the purple. You with the red. Wait. Yes, I know I sound like I'm crazy, but yes, you individual. I'm pretty sure there's some people that are wearing these colors. That's what we're saying. Anyway. But anyways, I'm talking to you. Just do it. Like Nike. Just do it. Okay.
No, and all I was just trying to say that as the person who's been procrastinating, I can just share some of the reasons why I've procrastinated on what I want to do and what I know that I should start is I create these obstacles for myself. When I encounter a roadblock, I just stare at it and say, "Oh, but how do I get past this problem?" And then I just meditate on the problem and then it just becomes overwhelming for me, and I don't take the time to investigate how to resolve this issue or how to go around this problem. So maybe for some of you approach like something, it's like, okay, maybe you want to start a project, you want to write a book, you want to, I don't know, go back to school or something, and then you realize, you don't have the prerequisite course to enroll in a particular program. And then that problem, that roadblock has now stunted you. And instead of actually trying to be proactive in resolving or just doing what it takes to get past that, the fact that you're lacking that course, for example, you just kind of just think about that problem and then you just don't do anything about it. And every time that thing comes back, oh, I should go back to school, or I should really start this thing or write this book. It's like that problem keeps coming before you, and then you just think about it. And then that's all you do with it. You just meditate on the problem, but you don't actually. That's what's been holding me back. It's like I just always face this roadblock, and then I'm just like, oh, yeah, that's unfortunate. I don't know how to deal with this. And I don't go past that. That's my problem. But part of that is that I also use the excuse of being busy.
Procrastination is the thief of opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Procrastination, I think we all suffer from it at various levels. And I think this is what I think is this, right? It's like, this is how I look at it. You want a given result. And first of all, everything is easier said than done, usually, right? Mm-hmm. So you want a given result. Mm-hmm. As you said, okay, this is what I want. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, you may see an impediment, something that's preventing you from progressing. Mm-hmm. And as you said, you feel like so overwhelmed by this thing, and then it just paralyzes you as a result of you just like staring at this mammoth. You're like, oh my god,
roadblock.
But I feel like maybe like I don't think it's that challenging though. I think what needs to be done is a simple matter of deciding where you want to go. You meet an obstacle, and then you literally just strategize as it relates to how do I get from point A to point B, like without even limiting yourself. So when you're approaching a problem, one of the things that you should do is like not to limit yourself. Because sometimes when we're trying to like tackle a problem, I feel like, for instance, someone wants to build a school and they don't have the money. And because they don't have the money, they either just give up on the idea from the onset, from conception, the moment it comes. You're like, okay, I ain't got the money. Some people stop there. And then you have some people who look at it from a place of obstacles and problems. So they already confine themselves like, well, maybe I won't have the time, or where am I going to get the teachers? Whatever problem is, like they look at it like literally as problems, right? They don't allow themselves to think freely. And I think that's the approach that people need to take. Think freely, right? Imagine if there were no limits.
Right.
And you had the resources that you needed. So that's the way you approach the first thought. So you just think about it. How would I want this thing to be exactly? Without thinking about resources, finance, or whatever the case is. So say, what's your ideal goal? What's the ideal conditions that you'd like? How? Oh, I would want my school at this location, this amount of teachers, these are these are the subjects, right? This is what we're going to be doing. All these things, you just paint that picture for yourself exactly as you want it, right? And then you say to yourself, okay, this is, because you're not going to allow yourself to be stifled.
Right.
Because I find that a lot of people, they allow themselves to be stifled, and you want something, but you kind of compromise because you're like, well, I ain't got the money, so instead of the full thing, I want a quarter. Yeah. Or instead of this, I want that. So you already start dismantling your dream because of just the mindset that you have and the approach that you're taking toward it.
And your current status.
So yeah, and so but what I'm saying is like you have like, this is just what I'm suggesting to y'all. If you guys want to listen or not, it's up to you. But you conceive it as you want, exactly as you want, without any compromise whatsoever. So that's the first thing that you do. And then what you do now is, because remember, you don't even think about where you are right now has literally no bearing on where you're going to be. You could be in one place today, and next week, next year, 5 years from now, you're in a totally different place. You never know. Right? That's life. So you fashion this thing. You have the plan, the dream that you want as it is, without any compromise. And then you work backwards. You say to yourself, how can I reach here? Like, what are the ways that I can actually get to this place? Right? So you know exactly what you want. And then you really start thinking about it, not just saying, well, how can I get to this place? You start writing stuff down as it relates to how exactly can I get to this desired result, this goal that I have, and you start really going towards it, and you're like, okay, 1. And sometimes you can even go to write down like 100 reasons or 100 ways, 100 possible ways that I can arrive at this.
To get that
and
goal.
If something pops into your mind that seems ridiculous, don't shun it. You know, like for instance, I need $1 million to start this school. And an idea, something popped into your mind to be like, oh, you know, I can write to this organization or this person and this, and you have these ideas. Don't turn away any idea whatsoever.
Yeah.
Embrace every single one and write them all down. And then you start approaching them seriously, right? Because there's this thing, if you're not serious about it, then it's like, it won't work. But if you seriously sit down and strategize and spend time thinking about all the ways that you possibly can get to this result or this place without limiting yourself. So it doesn't matter, as I said, without limiting yourself, you will find yourself writing down things that are really, really good, and you start working through your list. So that's one way to do it.
Yeah, actually, just to say something, I remember listening to an interview, what's his name? Casey's wife? Candace. Yes. So she has Casey, what is that? That's his name.
Yeah, Casey
right?
Neistat. Yeah,
Casey Neistat. Yeah, that's what I want to say, his full name. Casey Neistat is a really popular YouTube vlogger. His wife, she owns a jewelry company. I watched an interview with her, and one of the most profound things that she said to the person that was interviewing her was, they asked her like, I can't remember the exact question, but basically what she said was she knew that she wanted to start making jewelry and selling jewelry, and it didn't matter if she failed 10 times, 20 times, 30 times. She knew that she wanted her own company, her own jewelry, and it was going to be successful, and she would just keep doing it. She would just keep until she's like, it's not that it wouldn't work. She's like, it's gonna work. I just have it exact. It's just when, and it's just for me to figure out how to make it work. And when she said that, I was just like, oh snap! Like that's actually like, it's so simple what she's saying, but at the same time, it's like, it's so obvious. It's obvious, but at the same time, it's like it's a hard principle for a lot of people to follow or to even really think about, because it's so easy to give up. And I think, I don't know about anybody else, but it's like, sometimes you think, okay, well, if it's not working, then I guess it's just not meant to be, right? You know, like there's this mentality like, oh, it's, this is what I really want, but I've tried 2-3 times and it's not working, so I guess I should just give up. But what she's saying is that, like, she knew her main goal. I want a jewelry company. I'm going to make my own jewelry, and I'm going to live off of this, and I'm going to be successful, and I'm going to have my jewelry sold in stores and whatever. And she's just like, I wasn't going to stop. I wasn't going to give up. I was just going to keep going and working on it until. And I was just like,
It looks like
it's just like, you understand what I'm saying? It's just like, it seems like such a simple thing, but it was just so profound for me to it was just so profound for me to hear that, and just like, yeah, no, for real. For me, it was just really profound. And just to see that she was doing what she wanted to do, and, you know, to know, okay, you know, she gave some of her backstory of where she started and when she started making her designs. And I'm just like, you know, like, I feel like sometimes we overcomplicate things. You know, we see
people do that.
Yeah, we overcomplicate things. We see successful people.
Not me though.
Yes, okay. We see successful people. We see people who have their own companies and who have their own businesses. Or at least, okay, I can only speak for myself. You know, you see these successful people and you're like, oh, they're so far. Like, how, you know, like, it's like you feel like you almost, at least for me, I felt like I wasn't on, like, what does it take to get to that level?
I feel like I'm gonna have to like take my wife into my own sessions, because I'm like, she knows, like, it's like I'm sitting right here and I'm like, all the things that she's talking about,
I know,
I'm like 100%, that's what I'm about. Like, every single thing that she's saying right now, like, I have an answer for every single thing that she is grappling with right now.
Yeah, I know, but what I'm saying, I'm just saying that I know, but what I'm saying is that's
come into my room. So now this is like, what's this? I guess this is like like couples therapy now with like Casey and Candace, like their podcast, because now we're talking about the two of them, and yeah, no, as I'm saying, like, all these things that you're talking about, like, this is what I'm about. Like she sees me.
I watch you.
She sees me.
I see
like,
you.
just doing all the stuff that I'm doing, and she sees me. Like, so I'm wondering to my, it's crazy, because even when you're talking about something that you said, that I think a lot of people struggle with this thing, and it's like doing something and trying to figure out, like, it's not working. So you're saying to yourself, is this something that I should do? The resistance that you're not getting any results. Like, is this something? But I believe, well, this is my take on that. There's a few things. One, or a couple things. One is, it's like, do you really want that thing? That's the very first thing. And I've spoken about this over and over again. It's like, do you really want it? Because I don't believe in doing something because other people are doing it. I don't believe in just doing something because they're like, okay, well, it's the trend now or whatever. Because it won't last.
Yeah.
Generally, people won't last. So it's all about introspection, finding out exactly what it is that you want to do. Like, do I really want to do this? And if you find it within yourself that this is what you want to do, after introspection, after spending time with yourself and really like playing it out in your mind, like, okay, trying to experience the feeling of actually achieving that thing. So you play it out in your mind, not just saying, okay, maybe, but really say, okay, what if I actually achieve this thing that I'm going after? How would I feel? What would it be like? And really trying to live that out in your mind and see if this is something that you want. If it's something that you want and you're like, okay, this is it, then you make a resolve. It's as simple as that. You make a resolve that this is what you want, this is what you're going to be doing, and you start working toward that thing 100%. And of course, you're going to feel sometimes, of course, you're going to want to give up sometimes, which is just like inevitable. That's just the way it is. But because you know that you want it and this is a part of your life, you literally are going to do it no matter what, right? You're literally going to do it as long as you, as long as it takes. That's it. Just like what she said, until. That's the operative term. It's like until, because you know that this is something that you want to do. And you've actually played it out in your mind. You know this is it. So if it takes you 10 years, so be it. Because you want it so bad. So in your mind, it's going to be failing forward. In your mind, it's going to be doing it until. And one of these things that I hold really dear to my heart, so close to my heart. And I'm not sure if I think I coined it. Potentially, I think I coined it. It's, you have to be able to outlast the struggle. That's my mindset. 100%. And I know that some of you guys will hear this now. You're going to be like, oh my gosh, it's so profound. Yeah, it's literally that deep, where it's like, in so many things, so many pursuits, a lot of people give up too soon. And if you're able to outlast the struggle, no matter how long it is, if you're able to do that, my view is that you will get what you want. You'll get to the finish line. And that's why I talk about running so much. It's like you're trying to get from mile 1 to whatever distance you're trying to cover. And you have to outlast the hardships. You have to cover the distance. And once you cross the finish line, you'll get the reward at that point. But a lot of people give up way too soon. So it's like, so the thing that we're talking about, you know, like, until, how do you know if it's something for you or not? I think if a person engages in that process of introspection and you decide what you want, then you'll do it no matter what. Right.
And I think that's the thing, is just the focus. I think for me, it's always just been just choosing that thing to focus on and to stick to it. I have a tendency to be like, okay, to start something, and then as soon as it starts to get a little bit rocky, I'm like, oh, I should switch to the next thing.
But no, that's it. No, that's like, but that's it. Like, even for me, it's like, there are certain things that I don't do. Like, I won't start it unless I know that I'm going to be committed to it. So it's that whole process. So it's like, I don't want to say procrastination is good because it's not. But you need to spend time, or we need to spend time thinking about that thing. Like really, okay, can I commit to this thing? And really work it out in our minds. Because the thing is, anticipation is good. You need to be able to anticipate like what's coming. And then by anticipating certain things, then you can have contingency plans and certain things in place already. So you understand that, okay, this is going to happen.
It's a part of the process.
This might happen. And then, okay, what am I going to do if this happened, that happened? And then you prepare for those things in advance. So all these things are important to really find a thing. So one way, of course, as I said, the thing that's pulling you, that's dragging you or drawing you forward, you identify that thing. You spend a lot of time really deciding or thinking, like, is this something I want to do? Because it's going to take time. Anything that's worthwhile will be hard and it will take time. These are characteristics of these things which we know the world over. Like, it's like no new truth. It's been there. So it's all about just implementing, like just acting upon the information that's available to us and just working, just doing that. But yeah, that's the way it is. And if you really love it, you'll do it regardless. And that's why I say, you know, when it comes down to people choosing things for money, it won't work. Because you won't have what you need. Like, you will not have the fuel and the energy that you need to get the job done and continue. But if you have the right energy that's like, you know, with it, you love it so much, it's dragging you. It doesn't matter what, if someone likes
the struggle.
doing what you're doing, like you just do it. You do it and you do it. And eventually you'll just happen upon success because you're just doing it. And even when it's hard, you're still engaging in the activity. You're doing it. And then you're like, oh snap, 5 years. Bam. It passed so fast. It's the same thing as someone, like, for instance, someone that's maybe watching a movie that they like, but you hate that genre. And you're like, oh my God. Like, for you, each minute is like 10 years. You're like, oh my God. But for them, they love it so much, they're just like, oh my God. They're just watching it. And that's the thing. So that's what I'm saying. It's so important to figure yourself out, to find out what you want, introspection, and deciding, having a resolve that this is what you're going to do until. Right? So that's it. And I find that there's just so much that people are doing the wrong way. People are doing things the wrong way. And as a result of that, they get the results that they get, and their life is complicated and stuff. But so now we see. So now I guess I have a lot of work to do. I gotta take her into my room and tell her to lie on the couch, darling. Let's get a session in. So tell me, what it is that you want help with? Because as she said, she sees me, right? And sometimes I'm like, okay, the best way to teach is to do, right? And like the quote that said, children will be what they see. She's my wife, but the same thing. But the thing is, whenever you're in a certain place or spot or position, you have to be able to demonstrate and lead by example. And then I think that's the most effective way, because anyone can talk and say stuff, you know, but it's like when you actually do it, they're like, okay, this person's not just words, they're actually doing it. And then I guess sometimes it take a while for it to sink in, for people to say, okay, let me just do this thing. But we're gonna get it done. Very soon you guys are gonna hear an update from her where she's like, okay, she's doing this thing. So guys, we know we went off on like 10 different tangents, forgive us, but remember again, so next week we're going to start doing the live podcast. That's going to be the format. We're going to live stream the podcast on YouTube. You guys can actually call in and we can have discussions, solution-driven discussions about the black experience across the world. We're going to discuss many things, right? Because this podcast is going in that direction. We're really trying to make it a podcast that's really effective in actually coming up with solutions. So we're going to involve you guys in the process. And remember, if you want to be one of the first persons that we call or that call us on the 29th of June, that is next week Saturday at 10 a.m. JST. Send us an email again to blackexperiencejp@gmail.com. And, you know, let us know why you want to come on the podcast and stuff like that. And we'll let you know if you're one of the persons that we will select for the first live podcast that we will be doing starting next week. So that's going to be the format again. So we hope to see you guys there. Again, guys, thank you so much for listening. It was a pleasure spending this time with you. We hope that you got some value from this. We hope that you were inspired. We know we went off on, as I said, 10 different tangents.
Yeah, but I think it was good.
Right, so hopefully. So guys, that's it for episode number 3 of the Melanated Files Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can subscribe for weekly videos on the Black experience across the globe. And if you're listening in podcast land, you can favorite this podcast or subscribe to it as well for weekly episodes. So guys, again, thank you so much for watching and listening. We'll see you next week.
See you. Bye.